Hi everyone, and welcome back to another webinar. Today we will be focusing on social media graphics. It's a really big, wide world, social media graphics, and there is no right answer. Graphic design and this sort of graphic is subjective. So we are just going to talk about today some of the visual principles and problem solving when it comes to creating social media graphics. So today we are going to create a couple of graphics together, and we are going to chat through what information needs to be on the graphics, what information can live elsewhere. Okay, so we're in Canva. This is the home page. I'm sure you've all seen this before, and if you haven't already, I recommend you go back and watch the Canva basics tutorial, because that shows all of the mechanics of starting a post from scratch and changing colors and adding text and resizing things and text boxes and things like that. So I recommend that you watch that one first, and if you have, that's great. It's on our YouTube channel, so yeah, I recommend that you watch that before you watch this one. So let's head over to the templates that we can browse through. So templates is up here. So you'll just single click that to get over to browsing the templates, and there are thousands and thousands of templates for you to look through. Now, it will recommend you templates based on what you have been designing or what's popular, and have a look through those, but I really recommend that you narrow down your search a little bit. So for the purpose of this webinar, we are going to design first an event graphic. And I know that a lot of our members and a lot of people registered to this webinar are radio stations or radio adjacent. So we will be designing a graphic for a made up event of a live broadcast, and it can be out and about somewhere. We might say a school. So we will be designing a promotion graphic for this fake event. So what we want to do is we want to narrow down our search, and we are designing these graphics for social media. So we can filter that after we've keyword searched. So I'll show you the difference now in some search keyword differences. So if we were to search live event in this search bar, you can see all of the templates that pop up. Now there's heaps here. They're all very different. Some have photos, some don't. Some have lots of information. Some just have a few different bits, and it's really image heavy. But then if we were to narrow that down and then, broaden it even more and search event, a whole different range comes up, because live event seems to skew towards music. We've got charity event, summer pool party, pottery workshop. So playing with your keywords that you're searching with can be really important. If we search radio event, I'm sure it will narrow it down even more. So these are really physical, visual radio looking flyers and graphics. We probably don't want to lean that way. So let's go back to the live event and see what we can see in terms of templates that we would like to choose. So there are a lot of live music centered graphics here, and that is a really great thing in terms of using images, using big headings and things like that. So we will talk a little bit later about what we actually want to include in our graphic, but right now I'm just going to talk through a few of these and what is effective and what isn't effective. So there's a few that I'm really drawn to and a few that I'm really not. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the rule of thirds, and that is a design principle about effective design and visual hierarchy. So that means having three main elements. And so this one does this really well. We have the element of the image, and then this bottom part is split into two, and we've got the heading and then some details here too. I really like really like this one too. Again, we've got an image. An image says 1,000 words. That was true in traditional printed media, and it's true here too. So we've got section 1, section 2, section 3. There's a few here that just are a little bit too busy for my liking. This would be one of them, just because we've got a lot of fonts and colors, and it's a little bit scrapbooky. So obviously we've got this really bold heading here that's pink. We've got some yellow and white alternate fonts. We've got obviously this font. We've got a couple going on here, different ones. We've got the pink, we've got the black, we've got the shining. And then not that this is a deal breaker, but obviously this is two different girls, and these are two different photos edited quite differently. So they are quite stark, and they don't really match in the way that they edit. So they do look a little bit sticky taped together. And then going back up again, it's kind of the same thing with this. We've got yellow lights, we've got two girls, but see how these two girls, they have the same kind of filter and they're edited similarly, so it looks a little bit more cohesive. But again, we've got fonts, big pink headings and yellow and black background, and there's just a lot going on here. There's a lot of information included. So this is just what I would describe as a little bit visually cluttered compared to something like this. This seems to have all of the same sorts of information, about the same amount. Maybe this one has a little bit more, but this is so much calmer, a lot more engaging. You can really see clearly what's going on here. And then, you don't have to go super simple, but this one has no photos, and that's really a way to go too if you so choose. But again, there's hundreds of thousands that you can choose from. But we are just going to choose one and dive on in. And I think we've been talking a lot about this one. So let's jump into this one and edit it. So we'll click Customize Template, and this will take us to a new window over here. So you can always come back and choose a different one if you decide you start editing it and you don't like it. So let's get started. We are going to edit this as a live radio event. And for the sake of this, I will choose one of our radio station members' brands to design this in the style of. So I've got 92.9 in Queensland ready to go in our brand folder. And again, if you need any clarification of how to do this, I've got a pre-recorded tutorial that I can give you all access to. So just let me know if that's something that you're interested in. So I'm going to start by changing the colors here. So I'm going to change this orange to purple, and we will start editing some of the details now. So we are hypothetically doing this live radio event. It's going to be at a school. So placing the image and choosing the image will be really, really important. So choosing something that your local community has good visual reputation with. That's probably a school building or a school uniform. As always, make sure you have the right permissions to use it. I don't have a school in mind or a photo ready to go, so I'm just going to find a Canva one. So I'm going to search school over here in the Elements tab, and I'll find one in here that seems about right. So often the thing that will give visual association is a building or a uniform. Let's choose this one for now. So we've drag and dropped this image in now, and then we decide which information goes where, what we want our headings to be. So as you can see here, we've kind of got two major text identity pieces. So we've got this one and this one. So we probably want one of the bigger ones to be the school name. And so one of them can probably also be live broadcast or what the event is, because we want people to know at a glance what the event is and where it is, because if it is in a completely different city, there will be no point in them going. So we want them to know what and where. And so let's call this school name. Okay, our first thing to problem solve. This piece of text is bigger and takes up more space than the last piece of text. So how do we problem solve this? Well, we can simply make this text box a little bit longer so it all fits on one line, and then we make it smaller here. So again, that does reduce the visual boldness of this piece of text because we've made it smaller. I don't think it's too bad, but maybe instead of changing that, we could changing the size. We could try a few different things. We could try putting it on 2 lines and making it bigger and maybe we could make the image a little bit smaller. You know, we can have a play around with how to effectively fit everything in. So I've just made the line spacing shorter, and I'm just having a play around with what I think works. And I actually quite like that on 2 different lines, and maybe I can add a logo or something in here, but we can consider that later. Now I'm just going to get rid of this thing on the side here. This is offering Canva's printing service, so we don't need that over there. Okay, so we've got school name, and now we've got a location here, but the location is actually the school. So this is actually what is going to be the what of the event. So we're going to say live broadcast. Now, again, same thing. There's too much text here, so we're going to make it smaller and make sure it fits on one line. For this one, I think getting it on one line is a good decision. And then, so we've now got our school name and and we know that it's a live broadcast. So now come the finer details. Now we don't need to have a time on here. We don't necessarily need to have, like, we could put the school address if we need to, but we don't really need the school address in there, and we don't really need a website either. So I am going to take those details out because they can sit somewhere else because they already know where it is, and so they can find the rest of the details somewhere else. So we'll say that it is on the 3rd of November 2025, and we're going to say we can add some very surface level details. Let's call the presenters will be chatting live from this school, let's say. So let's say in this piece of text, their presenters are John and Susan will be broadcasting live chatting to students, and then maybe you've got another draw card, free coffee on site. Okay, so again, we can see this time, again, we have too much text, but we have changed a few things around. So we've taken some details away and we're adding in this piece of information about the what again. Now this, again, I would say is not crucial information, but if you'd like to, you can add this in for just to help everyone get an idea of what the event is about. And let's just play with this spacing a bit. So obviously this line is cutting us off, so I'm just going to move that down, and now that was seeming like a list. Okay, so there we go. We've got our school name with a photo to grab for attention, and we know that it's on the 3rd of November, and John and Susan will be broadcasting live and chatting to students, free coffee on site. So we've got some great draw cards. People know what the event is and where it is and who it applies to and if they should go from this. And so if they are the target audience and this has been enough to grab their attention, they will seek out other information in the caption or on your website or wherever you're sending them. Your call to action doesn't necessarily need to be on this page. If you'd like to add another little line, You could say, you could duplicate this piece of text and say, head to our website for more information. And we would probably make that a bit smaller because it's not a crucial piece of information. And we could put that down the bottom if we needed to. But again, that is not really needed on there. So we can have that or not. Now, looking at our visual identity, we do have our rule of threes still applying, but it's probably not reading in the way that I'd like it to read. So I think I would like to swap around these two aspects. I'd like live broadcast to go a little bit higher up. So I'm going to just move these around a little bit. So I want live broadcast, there we go, up a little bit higher. And I'm just going to play with that a little bit. And then I can move this up. Maybe I can make this a little bit bigger. There we go. And I'm liking the look of that a lot more. And so up here we could put either 929's logo. Where is that in brand? And so you could drag that across. You could put this, whoops, dragged it too quickly. You can put the school's logo. You could do a few logos up here if you needed to. But again, don't forget that when this is posted on social media, you will have the logo right up here. It'll say posted by 929. So you'll have the logo and the name of the organization. So it's not super important to always have your logos on things because it will be closely associated, but that could be a visual option there. But I actually think the space and just the negative space is nice. But if you weren't a fan of the negative space, we could make this image a little bit smaller and we could drag this out a little bit more. So that's another visual option. So we're going to leave that as that, and we're going to go on to our next type of graphic. So we'll go back to our templates and we will search for a volunteer call out, because I know that that is something that a lot of you do as well. So I'm going to search volunteer in here. And again, there's heaps and heaps of templates here that are similar. I would say this one doesn't necessarily need an image. It's not something that you have strong visual association with. It's more the logo and your logo that might be needed on here, because you want people to associate your logo and that you need help. So this is one that I really like. There's not a lot of visual clutter going on here. It's really clear what you're asking for. Same with this one. There's obviously a lot of information, but volunteers needed is a really great thing to just have as the main part of your flyer. Volunteers needed is what people want to see. They like clarity, and that is really helpful. So I like this. We've got, again, rule of threes. We've got 1, 2, 3. And this all depends on what your volunteers will be doing. Maybe it's ushering at an event. Maybe it's taking phone calls. Maybe you need someone to do help with some admin work, whatever it is. Maybe if it's admin work, you can add a photo of someone working on a computer, or maybe, again, on the phone or something like that. This is a good one. Again, we've got a good rule of threes. We've got some information here. And you can put your logo in, but there are a few here that are, again, just a little bit too busy for our liking. This one, the text is really small. Join us in making a difference. It could be a call to donate. It could be a call to help with something. It's not super clear that you need volunteers. So again, with this one, open volunteer, like there's a lot of small text, a lot going on visually. We've got a lot of fonts and different variations of blue. And anyway, there's some good things about this too, but we just try and minimize visual clutter. So this one as well, too much going on. We've got sticky notes and notebook and fonts and backgrounds and megaphones. So we want clear calls to action is the be all and end all, is that people need to know what you are asking of them to do it. So let's edit this one. Okay. As we've just talked about, saying volunteers needed or volunteer if it's a singular one. You might want to say apply for a volunteer role if you think it actually could be competitive and you only need one person. This piece of information is good. You might want to say what they need to volunteer for if there's a certain skill set. But again, keep this really short. Let's, for example, for the sake of this post, say that we're going to use 92.9 again. 92.9 needs some volunteers to answer their phones during a fundraising appeal. So it is multiple positions. So we're going to say volunteers needed. And 92.9 can go up here because that is their company name. And we'll put where they are. 92.9 Toowoomba. That doesn't hold a lot of visual boldness, but it's still good to have there. Volunteers needed, and let's say we're calling for dedicated individuals to join us as we take donations in our end of financial year fundraising appeal. If you are tech savvy and good on the phone, we'd love to hear from you. So again, this provides clarity. People aren't going to apply if they don't know what they're applying for. It provides a location because we've added that in. We've provided a skill set that they can align with, and we've included a clear call to action. And we now need to give them the way to apply or where they can find out more. And so you can either do that in the caption. So in the caption of this image, you may say, head to our website to find out more, or you might say, send us a direct message if you're interested, or send us an email. So we are going to put an email here, and you don't have to use the words. If you're putting this on the graphic, which we are, you don't have to say, send us an email to apply. People, and the people that you want to be targeting who are tech savvy enough to accept donations over the phone, know that if you've put an email, that's where they should email to send their interest and register their interest. Okay, so we've got the email there. Now maybe it's a little bit too hands-on, compassionate. It's not quite right. So we can search for a different image of someone on the phone. So I'm going to search for or someone on a computer, but I'm going to say I'm going to search taking a phone call into this and then look for photos. And I'm hoping that we can find someone really friendly looking to help with some visual identity. This one's good because it doesn't put a clear face to what 92.9 might be looking for. If we put a photo of a young woman, we don't want an older man to feel like he may not be right just because of the photo that we've chosen. But someone with a phone up to the ear that's fairly nondescript is kind of what we're looking for. So let's try this one and see how it looks. So we can stretch it out a little bit. And maybe we could round the corners to make it look a little bit more in place, because these stars up here, they're not sharp stars, and this text box here has slightly rounded corners too. So if we round this, it will fit in a little bit better. Okay, so I'm fairly happy with that. I might just make this a little bit tighter. There we go. And now we change the colors. And again, this is the same process as before. We can change the background color, and maybe we'll make these little stars into the secondary kind of green color, and then the text can be white, and this can be green. And then maybe we want to put a border around this. That's really simple. We can just add this via these little increasing lines. This is how you add a border, and then that'll help you to see this, the outline. That is how you change the color of the border. So there we go. We now have a graphic in the right colors. It's got a call to action, a how-to, what you're looking for. There's a few things that I would actually change. I'd move this star down and this star up. And there we go. I'm feeling pretty happy with how that looks, but this is fully customizable. You can change a template as much as you can, but just be conscious when you're choosing a template to choose one with about the same amount of information as you want to put in. And just also remember that there's always another place to house the information. And often that's the caption of this post, but it might also be on your website. It might be on a registration form that you can link in your page's links, or it might be a donation page that you are sending people to. It might even be a physical place. Come into our reception and find out more. Or there's lots of ways of asking people to find out more information. And if they are the right person and they are trying to find out more, they'll find a way. They'll give you a call, they'll send you a message, they'll send you an email. So don't feel that you need to put every ounce of information onto every graphic, because that is where you lose visual interest. The other thing is that these graphics and the things that you're posting on social media don't even need to have that much information at all. Like for a volunteers needed post, we could just end up, I'm just going to duplicate this so we don't lose it, and I'm editing our duplicated page now. We could just do something like this. We could just have volunteers needed right in the middle of the page. We don't need to say 92.9, and we could have all of the extra information in the caption. And so it could look like this. It can grab their attention, and you don't need to have any further information. You can have it written somewhere else, because if people are interested in volunteering, they can look further into it elsewhere. It doesn't need to be there. Because I would say this would stop a scroll more than this. But I understand that sometimes you do just want to get the information to the right people. You need to be able to reuse this. You might want to print this out. So it's just about what is going to be effective for you, what you feel that your audience responds to best. And you can trial and error with that. Maybe for if you have 2 fundraising appeals a year that you're doing volunteer call outs for, for the June one, you could try this post, and then for the next one, maybe it's in November, you try this one, and then measure the success against each other. Social media is all about trial and error and figuring out what your audience responds to. And knowing who your audience is can really help with that as well. So in the last webinar we did, that was all about figuring out who your audience is and what to post, and establishing where your audience is located. So I encourage you to watch that one as well. So we are going to leave it there for now. But I just want to encourage you that there is an easy way now to collate these and your look and the fonts that you've curated and your colors, and then turn them into templates. So with the graphics that we have just created, I'll show you how now we can put this into a template that you can use again. So we're going to go back to home, and you can see that the two designs that we've just created are ready to go there. So let's say we're using this as is and we want to save it and we don't want it to change, and we want to have a record of what we've created. What you can do is you can hover your mouse over it, don't click on anything until these three little dots come up, and you can click on those. Now, this make a copy button is what you want to click. So we'll make a copy of that. So I'm going to rename this, and we're going to call it school name. And this was in November 25 graphic. But then what we can call the copy is live broadcast template. So next time you go to edit it, you've got this copy and you can edit it again, and you can maybe put a different school image, different school name, and every time you go in, you don't edit the template, but you make a copy of the template. So you can go make a copy of this template, and it says copy of live broadcast template, but you can say, let's call it Hillside School live broadcast. And so you'll have each one separately, and you now have a template to come back to and make a copy of each time. Another way to do that is we can go into our template, and we can simply keep the template as is, as page number 1, and we can come down here to see these 4 little boxes, and this shows us all of the pages that we're working with. And so if I single click on the page and Control C, Control V, copy and paste, or you can do it up here, copy and then paste, or duplicate page, we can do, next time we can do Hills College, and then we can put the information in. This one might be on the 6th of May, and you can update all of the images, and you can do it page by page and just keep a record of each page. This one might be East State School, and you can update the images and keep them all in one document, or as we were doing before, you can have a different full document for each of them. So that's the 2 ways to create templates. And so it's the same for this. So maybe you want this template, we'll make a copy, and then maybe you can change this template into something else. Maybe this can be donations needed. So you go, you can use all the same fonts and elements, and you can say, are you in a position to donate, donate, or yeah, so you can click donate here and put your website there, and then you have a different template that you've already created because you're not starting from scratch every time. So now, and then we can change the photo to a donation photo. So now, bit by bit, we go home now and we'll refresh it. Just from making a few templates, we have a live event template, we've got a volunteer call out, and that hasn't quite updated yet, but that is your donation template. So I encourage you to create a few of these templates for yourself, and then you're not having to start from scratch every single time. And you've got a few things to work with, and it just makes it easier on your mental load that you don't have to find a new template every single time. You're not starting from scratch every single time. You've already got things established, ready to go. So the most important thing that you need to remember going away from this, if I can leave one thing with you, it's that your social media graphic doesn't need to contain everything. Its job is just to simply catch attention and guide people to the next step. So keep doing what you're doing. I know that you are all working on this in some capacity, and if you have any questions, I would love for you to reach out to me. I'd love to help you with this. If you need any guidance or help choosing templates, I'm also happy to do that. And just remember that keeping the message clear and focused will always make the design stronger. So when you establish what is going on your graphic and why, the design and the graphic design elements will always come together more easily. So I'll leave you with that, and we'll head into a Q&A portion. So please send me an email or let me know if you have any questions, and thank you so much for watching.